All right, let's.
We're back with Therapy is Dope with Alicia and Laura. And today, I don't freaking know. Today,
We're just gonna see where it takes us, honestly.
well,
How
yeah,
fun.
we're just flowing.
What an adventure. I always said my favorite part of our friendships is always an adventure.
That's the frickin' truth, girl. Um, okay, so I am fresh out of the Psy Games, and of course, I have to
Hmm.
fill Laura in on it, so
Yeah.
everybody else
Let's
is
do
going
it
to be
together. Yeah.
privy to that as well.
Let's learn together, guys.
But I don't even know where to start with it because this year definitely built on last year, which we talked about last year. Uh,
Right. But also
so
like you
they,
brought the kids and Seb this year,
yeah,
so like totally
that
different experience too.
that was definitely the best part for sure.
Oh.
Yeah. Uh, so maybe you can ask me questions because I'm like,
I love asking
I
questions.
don't know
Let
where to
me
go.
know. Okay. Um, so when you left last year, what I remember is you were like flying pretty much when you came back. You were elated, you were inspired, you were like, I found my people, they understand. How do you feel coming out of it this year?
I think I feel similar. I wouldn't say it's as intense as last year. And I think that was just because it was all so new and there was so many pieces coming together for me last year. Um, I mean, so many pieces. Like just, you know how people say everything's connected? It was like everything was
Yes.
connected and making sense last year. This year,
Yeah.
I think maybe the biggest takeaway was instead of thinking this stuff is possible, I'm thinking this is possible for me.
Ooh, okay. So how does that differ in your experience? You thought it was possible for others last year, but not you?
Yeah, I think last year it was just an opening of the mind of like psi abilities. Okay, because it's called psi games. So these are psi abilities. I think an easier way to conceptualize it is just perception, extra extra sensory perception. And that can apply to all the different psi abilities. So everybody has, according to what they were teaching last year, is that everybody has these psi abilities, and some people have stronger abilities in certain areas or whatever, but everybody has the capacity to reach this level of perception. And they were saying that last year, but I was like, I don't know about that. Like, you guys seem to have this skill. And I was feeling like
Hmm.
it's like genetic, or maybe it's like runs in the family, because a lot of people say that. Like, my mom saw dead people and now I see dead people. Um,
Sure.
so
Okay, so parallel for you
yes.
because it makes sense to me and like how you're describing it, I think is good between the possible for me versus possible in general, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe these are genetic traits, maybe it's something there. And from my life experience, like I know that when I'm overstimulated, I don't really get anxious. I get hyper vigilant, right? So like my senses turn up the volume on every little thing, like a light flashing in the room when it shouldn't, or like the sun reflecting something differently off of something, and then all of a sudden all of my attention goes there. And so it feels like this low grade buzz when it's directed from a threat response. However, in moments of like deep meditation or when we went and did that like deep breathing thing where you like yell, right?
Mhm.
I remember feeling that same kind of heightened sensation externally, internally, and like noticing weird things. And if you look at what they say about senses, which is so funny that people think sensitivity is a negative thing, but we won't go there. There's like 36 actual senses, but because we need the ones people are most common with, like smell, sight, sound to serve, like those are the survival senses. A lot of our conditioning is kind of taught to mute the other sensations. Like intuition is a sensation. It's just an interoception sensation, right? So from that lens of connecting like the psi abilities with like extra sensing abilities, that makes sense. What did you experience this year, or how did they present it to you this year that made you see that you could also access that?
I don't know if there was a specific moment or bit of information. Maybe the most impactful was there's a psychologist, I think he's a psychologist, Dr. Jeff Tarrant, and he studies the brain activity in it. Last year, he was presenting on the psychics and the mediums, that
Okay.
he was studying their brain activity. And this year, he started studying the brain activity of mindsight. And as a result, he got trained in mindsight. And he said that it took him 2 weeks for his window to open. That's the language that they use.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized then that,
Mm,
okay, like everybody can be trained in this. I really thought certain people just had a better inclination or an interest or
yeah,
something. But if
the skill.
he learned it, so I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, this is something maybe I could learn too.
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense because I feel like we're very much in the like, okay, we should just have access to this versus recognizing it as a skill that is a develop, like it's like learning a language. It really is. Like you don't just like pick it up because you read the words once and then you remember them forever, right? It's like
Might
you have to prep, you might. I mean, what's the people who can like read language and like speak fluent languages like that? There's
savant.
a yeah, I think there's another one. But regardless, each of us have like our own innate super skills is how I would think of it, like our based on our environment that we grew up in and like what we needed to survive that then can also become like superpowers when we use them and like heal with them. So to that degree, that makes a lot of sense. Like you can build that first skill. What about
You
building that
said,
skill intrigues you?
let me go back first because you said something about 36 senses, and at the training they said that we have over 70. So we
Oh shit.
are grossly underestimating our senses, especially to just say that we have five. But this is funny because this is how we are even with emotions. Like humans can identify five emotions really easily, but there's hundreds of emotions that we could be experiencing.
Right.
So it's really, it's like saying there's only five colors.
Well, that like think about it. Like it's primary colors and then like this is why I don't like labels and categories because they all feel like restrictive containers with like subcategories. And I get like it's just like a systematic way of like putting things into a process to learn them, but that's why I also don't like it because it's like I understand both sides of it, but it also kind of traps the mind into like, okay, these are the boxes versus like, how do you make purple? Purple's not a primary color, like it's blue and red, right? So like we learn all these things and how much do you think like nervous system safety comes into accessing more of our senses, emotions, even like the chakras and the colors that you can identify within your body?
So I just did training with Thane. So Thane was on the podcast, I don't
Nice.
know how long ago, a couple weeks ago, I guess. And we started training together. And long story short, it's all about nervous system safety. And
Yeah.
I actually read a post this morning from the holistic psychologist girl that we follow. And
Mhm.
she said, imagine in such and such time in the future, we find out that it's all about nervous system regulation. And I think that we already know that. I think that we've already discovered that, and our nervous system has to get rewired and it has to feel safe in order for us to be able to expand. However, that being said, a lot of people with a lot of trauma do tend to have these extrasensory perception gifts, I guess you could say. So I don't think you have to always feel safe in order to perceive.
I would agree with that. I think the perception is likely linked to the state of the nervous system. Like if you are in an aggressive environment, your body is designed for survival. So if you're in an aggressive environment that might require you to do something to protect the vessel, then your ability to sense the extras, right, is going to be much more condensed to like these are the basic senses needed for survival. And it doesn't mean the other senses aren't there giving your vagus nerve information. You just aren't conscious to the like invisible intelligence, right? But when you're in a space of like deep centering, maybe that's when those abilities can come out. Like even when I remember you saying like at the PSI Games, like they, reduce senses, like they take their sight out in order to try and see things, right? Um, so that part makes sense to me.
Yeah, so I shoot, there was something else you said that I wanted to comment on because oh, what was it that you said I said, well, they might be.
That's a lot of information.
I
Who are
know.
they?
It'll come back. It'll come back
What might
regardless.
they be?
Yeah.
Um,
Go ahead.
what is the value based
Oh,
on
I
like,
think that was the question you asked. Yeah.
yeah, like what is the value of being able to experience mind sight for those who don't know?
Someone asked me that question yesterday, and there's tons of ways that mindsight could be useful. Just like a practical story that one of the kids shared at the conference was they were trick-or-treating and one of the groups of kids lost one of their members, and she couldn't necessarily see where the kid was, but she could
Hmm.
feel that he was at a certain house. So
Hmm.
she told them to go to that house, and they did, and they found him. So there's tons of practical uses like that that you could benefit from. However, to me, I think the more important thing is getting access to information. There's so much information around us all the time that we aren't tapping into. And so we feel confused, we feel lost, we feel anxious, we feel all kinds of things because we are missing information. And if we had the ability to tap into that information, then a lot of life would be a lot easier.
So that's, are we miss, I agree that we are missing information, but I'm wondering if the challenge is the fact that we're missing it or the fact that we're also becoming it. Like we become anger when we angry, right? I am angry. I am the energy and emotional state and being state of anger versus the person inside me witnessing the vessel experiencing an energy of anger, right? Like there's no separation. I think like a lot of what mindsight is like, at least from when Siegel taught it at the conference that we went to, is like being the subjective awareness of the experiencer and having the information, not becoming the information.
Yeah, one of the lecturers was talking about if you don't like meditation, what can you do to sort of like reach enlightenment?
Great question. Yeah.
And the the main takeaway that I got from it is that you just become more aware of yourself and you observe yourself, you watch yourself because
Yeah.
you can't basically what he said is your eyes cannot see themselves unless there's distance between your eye and the mirror.
Hmm.
So you have to have some kind of distance there in order for you to be able to see, which doesn't, it seems counterintuitive, but
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense, and like it draws in a lot of like the Buddhist stuff, Eckhart,
yeah,
Gabor, like a lot of the things that like you and I have kind of talked about
yeah.
on here and privately around like nervous system safety, right? Like if like I have been able to experience like observe my mind. Like, well, that's an interesting thing that my brain just did. Like I watched it do something and I'm like, that was just a crazy jump it just went through. But I didn't jump. I witnessed my brain jump thoughts. And I like noticed it create these like these are connected. I'm like, how? Where? What? Huh? Like how are these connected? But it was the experience of observing these two random things being connected versus when I'm not as safe, when I'm overextended, overstimulated, stressed out, focusing on, the well-being of a loved one, those types of experiences, I miss the observer in that. And so I just, it's called, how do I explain it? The shift from thought to thought doesn't seem surprising. It seems natural. Like,
Hmm.
of course that's there. But if I take the seat of the observer a lot of times, I'm like, how the fuck did it jump there? That makes no logical sense. But there's something, and like I think that's one of the things I've noticed is one, when I'm more distressed, I can't observe. Two, when I can observe it, it makes sense. But when I'm actually in a calmer state and I can observe the different things, it's much more curious and like I'm full of wonder when I get into that space of like, that's so strange that it just did that. Okay, sure, let's go with that. Does that make sense?
So I think what I learned is that the people who are enlightened and sort of live in that enlightened state live very present. So they don't get lost
Mhm.
in their emotions. Their emotions
Yeah,
might be there, but they don't run the show.
yeah.
And I personally have not mastered that. I'm not saying that I have mastered that by any means. Um, I would like to. I think that sounds
Oh yeah.
great. That sounds really nice. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm working on it, but that's what I'm hearing from these people. And I remember the first time I heard it was from Deepak Chopra. Then I found out he was in the Epstein files, so I was like, "Ah, everything he said was probably garbage." But there's a lot of other people that are saying the same thing, that you
Oh
can live
yeah.
in a way that you're not getting completely overwhelmed and overstimulated and overstressed in your.
Dude, you're opening like the most important jar I think that exists right now. Like I totally agree with you that we can, and that's like what's challenging about like what I've experienced in my own world in a lot of ways, and even what I hear with clients is like spaces where they were able to be present, where they could observe their emotion, not become their emotion. And then when they've lost it because of what's going on in their environment. Like one of the most common challenges I hear with my clients, and I'm curious if you hear it with yours, is like they're I want a better balance. I want to be calmer. I want to just feel more confident in myself because a lot of people assume confidence means peace, even though it's really about trust, but not going to go down that. And so they try and stay present, but their brain is and their nervous system is like wired in threat because we're constantly trying to like earn our value or our worth or prove that we're good enough or get external approval. We're trying to in some way to get the question answered, am I doing okay? Like is this okay? And like we don't it's not a conscious thing that we're doing. So like, all right, we checked off everything on our list. We sit down. And so often my clients be like, okay, I finally got to relax. And like within 2 minutes, I'm on my phone again, trying to like figure out what else I can do or plan the next vacation or like because they don't feel like this whole thing, in my opinion, is around time and our perception of time. Like I don't have enough time to get everything done. So that belief makes the idea of being where you are and just experiencing where you are seem impossible, pointless, and dare I even say threatening, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean,
is the problem how much we're trying to get done and what we're trying to achieve and what we think that will give us in terms of our life? Or is it that we're just so we feel so threatened being?
I think it's both. I think number one, I think that we are conditioned from childhood to
Yeah.
be doing and to be using our analytical mind and to be task oriented. So that's a really hard thing to break, number one. And then number two, yeah, the answer to everything is slowing down, which seems, again, very counterintuitive, kind of like we were talking about that be
Hmm.
the burrito thing when I was in Costa Rica. Uh, it's counterintuitive to try to float in the rapids, or at least it was for me. Uh, quicksand, same thing, right? They say don't fight the quicksand, lean
Right.
into it. That's crazy. That's like, what? And how am I even supposed to remember to do that when I'm panicking? And you can't when you're panicking. So the antidote is to pause and give yourself the opportunity to slow down and regulate so that you can be clear. And
Mm.
supposedly, okay, again, I'm just starting out on this journey. You are actually more productive when you slow down. You actually get things done better when you slow down.
Yeah. So a couple of things. One, you hear it in the language people say, like, we recently went back to Chicago for my dad's 70th birthday, and I remember my mom asking me, like, what are we gonna do? And I was like, I don't really think we're gonna do anything. Like, this is dad's birthday, and like all dad ever says is like he doesn't care what we do, he just wants to be together. And like you hear the different ways, like my mom connects a lot through doing things, sharing experiences. My dad could give seven shades of shit about what we're experiencing, but that we are being together in, like, we could be watching TV. That could be the doing activity. And as long as we're together and being together, he feels connected. So it shows you just kind of like how differently people think. But what you were saying about the more productive, I heard this TED Talk that had a really like catchy slogan that I think is really to this moment. And it was when you notice that like overthinking, that lack of presence, that distress, that hypervigilance, and anxiety, whatever it is that you are like, I am not present right now, to stop, drop, and regulate. So you stop your behavior, pause, drop into your body, and regulate. And I'm like, stop, drop, and roll. We got that all ingrained in us. Conditioning for the win, just switch the R to regulate, and hell yeah, right?
Yeah.
But then that opens a whole different can of worms that people struggle with. How do I regulate?
Yeah.
And what even is regulation? I think, I don't know if you posted this or my friend Lori posted this, but that being regulated doesn't mean you're happy all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I
I don't
think
think I
people
said that,
confuse
but
that.
honestly, I feel like the goal a lot of times is just neutral. I really feel like neutral is often what we maybe it should be or could be the goal, because neutral means I'm at peace. Like I'm not stressed. I'm not anything extra. I'm just neutral. I'm just good. I'm just okay.
Okay, I experience neutrality as agency.
Agency.
Yeah, like life can be happening and it can be good, bad, whatever, right? Like, but my experience in neutral is like I recognize those things are happening, and I'm here and I have the capacity to just be here without needing to change the circumstances. Whereas when I'm overstimulated, overextended, or like my allostatic load is like way overdrawn, I will notice old coping mechanisms of like finding neutrality by soothing the environment.
Mm.
So like when I don't feel like I have the capacity to manage my own energy because I've overextended it a lot of times, kind of my safety patterns, like my nervous system safety patterns is just like autopilot manage the environment to create that neutral for me, which I don't think is like the healthy response, but I can be at peace with what is when I don't overextend myself.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's how I experience neutral.
Yeah. Okay. When you said agency, I was thinking of like choice, like you have choice. So I was like,
Yeah.
we always have
Well, I
agency.
like it. Oh, I don't always feel like I have choice. Because like I
Right.
will try sometimes to like regulate and disconnect from someone else's energy field, and I can't disconnect. Like it doesn't work. So I can choose and say I'm going to like come into my body, I'll do the practices, I'll like get to a place and then it won't hold.
Yeah.
It's like there's not enough strength to lift the energy for me, and that's why I think of it as agency and like capability versus just choice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I am not a teacher of these things yet. I
We're just
don't know
talking
what
about
the future holds for me, but what I hear
it.
is we always have the choice to slow down, re-regulate, rebalance. And if we feel like we're losing that balance, there are things that we can do to regain the balance. And I'm definitely not saying that I have this down to a science by any means. But what I'm hearing from the pros is that that is something that we have agency to do, and we can learn to do that, and we can become more skilled at that, essentially. And I imagine that different things work for different people, just like we always talk about.
Absolutely. I think that's why we like to share our experience. And I agree with all of that. I think maybe I'm thinking of it as like a stabilized place of neutrality where like there's capacity because like with any skill, like you are building the capacity, the strength to hold said space, right? Like I think a lot about this is like the easiest example is with like new moms who are like learning what it means to be a new mom while their hormones are going crazy. And like you can conceptually understand like this beautiful little baby cannot regulate themselves. It is my job to regulate my body to then regulate them. But when you have something you love so tenderly screaming at you, and all of your senses are like, this isn't okay. Trying to create calm is a huge challenge for a lot of people, and it feels like a heavy lift
Yeah.
when you don't know the skills, right? Or when you haven't built the backbone or the foundation to kind of lean on. So I think we're talking about the exact same topic, different angles and different sub skills that kind of go with the ability to see yourself and be neutral within that space.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the baby step is paying attention to yourself to start and trying to separate enough that you can observe, and then trying to stay in that long enough
Yeah.
that you can reach that neutral point.
Yeah. So, all right, super corny thing that I do that helps me a lot when I'm like, where the hell am I? Is I will like record myself in a voice note or record a video, depending on what I'm doing, and then I'll listen back to it. It's not as much about watching it as it is listening, because you know how when people talk, you can hear how they feel about things based on the language they choose, or like, I have to do this versus I want to.
Okay.
Like, if someone's saying, like, I have to go to the gym, that's being driven from a place that isn't building them up. It's, I want to move away from something, and if I don't, then something bad can happen. So I have to do this in order to move away from the bad thing happening. I don't want to get fat, so I have to go to the gym, right?
Mm,
Versus I want to feel strong in my body, so I'm going to go to the gym is a very I want to versus I have to, same output, but it's like the language people use tells you a lot about what's driving them and where they're going. So when I'm trying to understand how I'm feeling about things sometimes, and I'm like, I've journaled or I've talked it out, I'm like, I just need to like hear myself say things back sometimes. And I'm like,
that's an
oh, okay.
interesting one.
I know it's a weird thing, but I've learned just from like working with clients, there's so many times that like someone's talking and I'll be like, oop, that was a have to, or that was a should, or that was like an either or, like if this means that, like just seeing where the brain jumps, right? And it's hard when you're in your own mind sometimes to see the jumps. Like that's building the seat of the witness is let me witness the jumping. Um, But a lot of times just like saying it out loud and like hearing it back, I'm like, oh, okay. These are the places where I wasn't seeing the direction. I just was noticing what my brain was focusing on.
Yeah.
What do you use when you're trying to better understand yourself?
I mean, previously checking in with myself, journaling, breathing. What I'm probably going to start doing more is gratitude.
Okay. So yeah, that was my next question. It's like that's what you were previously doing after going to Psy Games this year and like seeing like, oh, this is a skill I can build. What do you want to lean into? So connecting with gratitude or just like thinking about what you're grateful for?
Both. So there's a lot of research on gratitude and how useful it is, and there's tons of gratitude journals, and there's tons of people talking about gratitude. And honestly, it's like kind of annoying. Uh,
Yeah.
and I
Thank you.
imagine that I'm going to be annoying in my endeavors. I imagine that that's going to be a thing. Um, the benefit, according to the research, is that you cannot hold gratitude and fear at the same time. So
Yeah.
if the other thing is, I think gratitude lives in the heart. So a lot of meditation, a lot of expansion happens through the heart. And if you want to connect your heart more frequently, gratitude is a very practical way that you can do it. Because if you're thinking about what you're grateful for in the present moment, and you're thinking about how you
Mhm.
want to express that, that's controlling a lot of your brain power and a lot of your brain space so that there's not really a lot of room for other things. So if you
Mhm.
want to stay in a heart connection, I think gratitude is a key for that. And I think, even doing a gratitude journal or a gratitude exercise, like when I was in grad school, we had to do a gratitude thing where we were listing something that we were grateful for, three things at the end of every day. And that's great,
Mhm.
but that's reflecting back on the day instead of in the present moment. What am I grateful for right
Right.
this second? Like, what am I
Yeah.
grateful for as I'm driving my car to work? What am I grateful for as I'm telling my kids to get ready for bed?
Yeah. I appreciate you calling out the like how annoying like hashtag gratitude practices because I feel like similar to like self-care, sometimes these things get like misunderstood or miscommunicated, yet the science absolutely supports like, of course you need to take care of yourself and your body. You're the adult, like you used to have a parent who did it for you. Now you get to do it. And great news, you know you better than you, so like who better to take care of yourself? And like that's technically self-care, is taking care of yourself. Similarly, like with gratitude, this was a thing that like I had a very hard time understanding early in my days because like I could know like head up, I could know what I was grateful for and I could list out like, yes, I know I'm grateful that I have these things, but I wasn't connected and I didn't feel grateful. Like I know I'm grateful I have a roof over my head. But
Yeah.
the only time I feel grateful that I have a roof over my head is after I do the sleep out event to raise money for Dawning Family
Eh,
Services.
yeah.
And like it's one of the reasons why I still do it every single year is because that uncomfortable reminder of sleeping outside keeps me grounded in a lot of ways in what I do have, right? So like in that moment, I am connected and grateful that I do have a bed. I've always said I never appreciated my bed more than right after that event when I came home and my back was killing me and I just wanted to sleep for 6 hours, right? And to think that was one night and like so many families have to do that for years.
Yeah.
Like, so like that was a huge part for me because the science is 100% on of like you can't be scared and grateful at the same time, just like you can't be protecting yourself and connecting with others at the same time. It's like a wall, right? I've also experienced this in my nervous system where I have been unable to feel grateful for things, but I can know I'm grateful for things when I'm extremely distressed. So what has helped me get over that bridge in the moment is I'll ask myself, what do I have right now that I would miss if it was gone forever?
Mm. Yeah, that's a
And
good
it
one.
really, really helps. Like, it makes me think of, like when you lose a pet and like the jingle of their collar just around
Mhm.
the house. Like I remember after we lost our family dog, like missing just the random sounds of her collar clicking together, right? And like there's so many things that we get annoyed with our kids or our partner for, and then the moment they're gone, we miss that,
Yeah,
right?
I've heard people say like, I miss my spouse farting at night. And I'm like, oh, I can't imagine missing that. But
I had a client whose kid went to college, and she's like, honestly, Laura, I just threw all my dirty clothes on the couch just to make it feel like he was home. And I was like, that's really funny, but it makes sense to me. Yeah. Because like these things that annoy us, and like if you think about even when you've lived close to someone, like my best friend Tara, like when her and I lived like 5-minute walk from each other, we would watch TV shows, we would just shoot the shit, like it was super simple. What I miss isn't like the big adventures. It's literally like the inside jokes on the couch that just randomly were created from existing together, right? And like you can't make those unless you're present. And like I didn't even realize what I had with her being so close and then her leaving. And now I'm like when we are together, we barely go out because we just try and recreate those like couch moments of inside jokes and laughter. So it's like that's like I said in the beginning, one of my favorite things about our friendship is like it's always an adventure. And so I'm so present wherever we go because like I don't know what it's gonna go and where we're gonna go, and I don't need to know. Like I love the spontaneity of like what happens and we just figure it out, you know?
so
Woohoo.
true.
It works.
So
Um,
true.
so do you, starting on your gratitude practice,
Hmm.
every time you think about, like you were also talking about how like trying to not be as intertwined with your emotions, right? Trying to create some mindset there. When you have a thought of like, I'm grateful for this, do you immediately feel connected to it too?
Probably not. I mean, I don't know that that's, I think, okay, so when we actually, I believe we went to a training, they were talking about there's a difference between your friend throws a party, you go to the party, and afterwards you send a text and you say, "Thanks for having me at the party. I really enjoyed it." Or you can send a text that says, "Man, I always love coming to your house. It feels so joyful and there's so much positive energy. And when I leave, I just feel so energized by that. And it's such a wonderful experience. I'm so grateful that you throw these parties and that I get to have those experiences. I just love you
Yeah.
so much." That is a completely different experience than thank you for throwing the party. So I think
Okay.
there's a level of
Why?
really thinking about it, really getting
Yeah.
into
No,
it.
that makes sense. Like, why am I grateful for having a roof over my head? Like right now it's raining. I'm very grateful I have a roof over my head. Like I wouldn't be on this call. All of my stuff would be wet. I would be wet. Bubba would be shaking and scratching the hell out of me. Like, yeah, like why am I grateful that you host these dinner parties? Why am
Yeah.
I grateful? Yeah.
And
Okay.
that
I
takes
can
more time, right? It takes more
yeah. Back to the
time
time. Yeah.
to slow down and think about what is it about this that I really appreciate.
You know, I'm gonna say one of my favorite words, experiment.
Yeah.
Um, a couple, I don't even remember. Within the last 4 months, we've recorded a podcast about shit you and I were going through in our lives, right? With
Oh
the
yeah.
loss of your sister and what I had going on. Um, and unintentionally, I've been running a experiment because I recognize like, oh, my brain's not working the same way. It doesn't have as much capacity. It's a little foggier. Like this probably isn't the best zone to build things in. Like I don't have mental clarity. So I've been giving myself a lot more flexibility and leeway in my downtime to not build the business, but to like go for a walk, color, listen to a podcast, like laugh, whatever, right? Just I haven't been pushing myself. I've just been trying to be more with what is. And what's interesting is the main driver historically that has like been like, no, you gotta like put your foot on the gas pedal and like start driving has been like, you're not like bringing in enough money because I'm not an employee, I'm a business. So I always equated like work more, make more. That's always been tangential for me. And this ex unintentional experiment has shown me like I'm making the exact same amount as I was when my foot was on the gas pedal.
Hmm.
And so this whole belief system and drive of like, oh no, you gotta like you don't have to. So it's curious, like what part of me doesn't feel comfortable being in the present moment that makes me feel like I need to drive because, and as you know, I'm doing parts work. So like now it's starting to get into that stuff of I don't have the answer yet, but I think it all comes back to like time and like how society conditions us to meet the group norms. Like when someone gives you a gift, it is common courtesy to say thank you, right? If you are invited to a wedding, unless, communicated differently, jeans is not normally an approved attire, right? Like you understand, like, don't wear athleisure clothes to a wedding. You're supposed to dress nicely, right? So
Right.
there's all these like secret codes of conduct of like, this is how you operate in these zones to meet the demand of the zone and to like respect the culture, but
Yeah.
we're so disconnected from the actual purpose of doing them, like saying thank you or dressing up for someone. It's not because you have to, it's to celebrate the mood and the energy and the vibe and the love. When you put someone to rest, you dress in black, right? Because you are mourning what that this person is no longer with you and that their presence lives on in the light of everyone else who's there. Right. So like we have all these rituals, but we're disconnected to the from the why, to your point with the gratitude. Like why? Why do I need to go and do more and drive harder? Why do I need to wear a dress at the wedding? Why do I need to wear black to the funeral? Why am I grateful for the roof over my house? Why?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it takes like digging a little deeper and maybe even like sitting with yourself a little bit.
What? Sitting with yourself? Man, you know how people feel about that.
I know. Sitting is, oof. I mean,
Yeah.
it's again, it's
You know what? I like swaying with myself. I like to sway with myself. Like
like,
even when I sit here, do you know how hard it is for me to not twist in this chair while we record the podcast? This is all I want to do the entire time is just this. This feels so calming to me. But I also recognize like I'm not supposed to do that when I'm recording something. My first chair actually when we moved down here was a bouncy ball. That did not go well at all.
that's what I'm sitting on presently.
Yeah, but don't you have a base? Mine would just
Yeah.
yeah. Um, sorry, I just got distracted. But
Anyway,
yeah, why are we so afraid to be with ourselves?
shadows, shame.
But isn't it all bullshit based on the conditioning that we were taught anyways?
I don't know if it's bullshit. I mean, if I think about the things that I'm ashamed of, I don't know that that's bullshit that I'm ashamed of it. Um, but I do think that I think we are humans having a human experience, and you and I talk about this a lot. And I have said to myself at times, like, well, if I'm supposed to be having a human experience, here it is. Like, here it is. Finding that space between emotions and reactions is incredibly difficult to do. So that's just me having a human experience. And then, where the space and time that we're born in, and the family that we're born into, and the culture that we're born into, and the uh, hidden rules around us that you were just referencing. I think all of those things, I'm not saying that we don't have any accountability. I think that we do, but I also think that there are Even Gabor Mate says that. Gabor Mate, one of the things he said that really kind of threw me for a loop is that it's 100% our responsibility to heal our trauma. But he also doesn't judge anybody who hasn't because he understands where they're
Yeah.
coming from with that. And
Yeah.
so I think that's the key now for me too, that
Mm.
I have to ha cultivate some understanding of myself without taking away the accountability. The accountability is important. Without it, we don't maintain the change.
Accountability or responsibility?
Are you asking?
Yeah.
Oh, I think both, right? Like taking responsibility is in some ways being accountable, but I think recognizing that something I did was wrong is part of the accountability piece. That it's not just, well, it
Mm.
wasn't your fault because all these things happened, and I can be understanding of myself, but at the end of the day, that still wasn't the best choice. It still wasn't the best behavior. It still wasn't the best action. So I
That's
think
fair.
yeah,
I think so. How I think of it slightly differently, and like there's a song that I recently downloaded, and the chorus or one of the lines is like, "My trauma isn't my fault, but no one else can heal for me."
yeah,
And like that, I think is a really great way of explaining it because like we can want our traumatizers to create closure, accept accountability, to witness the pain they created. And I understand that desire. But what I think often gets misconstrued is that won't heal you. It might soothe you for a moment. You might feel witnessed and safer with that person temporarily, but like the trauma is a nervous system response that is patterned to try and protect you and keep you safe. And having that other person say, yes, I did this. Yes, I did this every single time your trauma is triggered isn't going to heal the trauma itself. And I think that's where it's like our trauma is our responsibility because no one else can heal for us. Like that is our opportunity. And it's two truths. Like it's frustrating we have this work to do. And what a beautiful gift to understand our system better and to create a better, like safer place of embodied wholeness for ourselves. When I think of like the language we're using with like when I make a mistake, I think this is where like shame and guilt is like very, very specific. And I think it's important because shame is, again, using Brene Brown's definition, I am bad. Because
right.
this bad thing happened, I am bad. Versus guilt is because this bad thing happened, I did something bad. So it's a character assassination versus a choice, right? So like
Yes.
when I think about moments I'm not proud of, I don't think I'm a bad person because I reacted poorly. I think I didn't understand something. I didn't know something that I didn't have the skill set to communicate in the way I would prefer at that time. So I feel bad. I feel guilty that I hurt someone or that I said something that is misaligned with who I want to be and my character. That's so, so true, but I don't then turn it, and this is how I've experienced shame in the past, is when I turn it against myself of because I did that bad thing, even though I didn't know yet, even though I didn't have the capacity or skills, none of that matters. Because I did it, I am a bad person because that exists in general. But I think
Right.
like
You're right.
one of my favorite quotes is I will not judge myself for something only time could teach me.
Yeah. No,
And
that
I
makes sense. Maybe that wasn't the right word, to
so is
say.
it guilt or is it shame?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, that's a good point, and I don't think I used the right language. Hmm. Uh,
Because I think guilt can motivate us without making us without causing us to be less accepting of ourselves. Like,
yeah,
I think it's good that I feel guilty when I do something that's misaligned for my character and hurt someone I care about. Like, I want to feel bad if I take an action that's misaligned and someone hurts bad. Now, if I take an action that is aligned with my character and they still feel bad, I can have empathy, but I don't feel guilt. Like
I
it
think
sucks. Go ahead.
I was lumping it together. I was lumping it together as far as like I guess the more neutral way to say it would be like I feel badly about these things and I'm not going to live in regret, I'm not suggesting that by any means, but I will if I recall doing something. All right, I'll just give an example because I gave this example this weekend. I grew up very religious, so I was taught that
Mhm.
being gay was wrong. And moving to Florida changed all of that for me. But when I was in middle school, I had a t-shirt that said, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. And I thought it was
Mhm.
hilarious. My parents thought it was hilarious. And I used to wear that thing around. And other people would laugh and whatever. And now I am ashamed that I would, that's how I would describe my feeling. But do I think that I'm a bad person for that? No, I don't think I'm a bad person for that. I think that what, like you said, didn't understand at the time. And my environment was such that that was encouraged essentially.
For
So
sure.
I was a product of my environment in that way. But do I feel badly that I did that? Yes, I do. And I'm embarrassed to talk about it and it doesn't feel good. So
That makes
shame
sense.
probably wasn't the right word, but that's what I was talking about in that scenario.
Well, I appreciate the example, and I think it's honestly like splitting hairs on language sometimes feels silly. Like I get annoyed with myself because I hate when people like subtly correct language, but now that I understand the impact language as our brain understands it on like how we digest things, especially when it comes to shame, I'm very sensitive to it because I've seen how much that can erode the soul and like everything we know about addiction is completely connected to shame, right? So I think it's I don't we tend to think in good and bad. Like I don't think it's bad that we feel guilty because we are that's how we learn like, oh, this isn't the right path. You took a side step. And I'm to kind of tie this in a bow because I have to go. I'm curious how pausing, centering, expanding our senses, building those skills can help A, prevent misaligned actions, but also can help us regulate and center and repair when we do have those human moments, because we're going to be human at the end of the day. Hmm.
I mean, I think it could change everything because, you were saying when you're overstimulated, you don't have clarity. If we have clarity, if we understand the energy that we want to move towards and in what way we want to move towards it, there's it changes everything. It changes uh, how good we feel about life in general. It changes how we relate to other people. I think it has the potential to unite all of us and help us help each other in a much better way.
What a perfect way to end.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Till next time.
Till next time.